Hello everybody, it's Steve, and yes, another unboxing video. The only thing I've done with this box so far is just take out the packing slip. It was right on top when I first recorded it, had my address on there and everything. Had to delete that from the video. I do like a little bit of anonymity when I'm recording these things. That's why you don't see my face. But there are 3 ships from Eaglemoss / Master Replica in here. The title's probably telling you which one we're going to be looking at today, but this intro is really for all 3 of the ships. Now, giant shout out to UPS for delivering this relatively intact. The box is in really good shape, but they did leave it in the middle of my driveway at 10:35 p.m. on a Friday night as thunderstorms were moving in. I live in Central Texas, live in the Austin area. Oh, that's all you're going to get from me on where I live. But yeah, just had I not checked my email or checked the tracking right before I went to bed last Friday, I would not have seen that this was just waiting in the middle of my driveway for me. Had I not seen it, this box would have been soaked and everything would have been ruined. So we got the Birth class USS Pegasus. We got that one, set that one off to the side. We got Voyager down here, and we've got the USS Bonchune Nebula class. I'll set those ones off to the side, and we'll come back as we're starting to look at the ships in question. Go ahead and empty out that box. And it's a nice little box. Go ahead and set that off to the side. And the box for the Bonchune, the Nebula class here, this is actually smaller than both the Oberth and the Voyager ships that we also got in this ship. And I'd probably say this box is about 7 inches long, Voyager about 9 inches wide, height about the same though as the Oberth and Voyager. And you can tell the design, it's very similar to a Galaxy class. You got the big saucer section, and you got this little triangular thing up top, and I'll talk about that here in a second. We do have the magazine for the USS Bonchune. This is the Nebula class, like I mentioned, 641 meters, launch 2263, round 2263? Okay, I'm thinking that looking at last week's and the Pegasus and this week's, 2263 is before Kirk's 5-year mission. That was not around during Kirk's era. I'm thinking these supposed to be 2363. Crew is comparable to the Enterprise's 1014. Let's see, our first appearance in Best of Both Worlds. Seriously. Huh. I guess it was one of the ships. I guess the Melbourne was supposed to be a Nebula class. There's a little bit of a dispute on that within canon. But really first appeared in The Wounded, TNG's 4th season. That was a very heavy Miles O'Brien episode. Had Bob Gudton as Captain Ben Maxwell, I want to say his name was. Future Steve will actually let me know about that one. But the Bonchune itself showed up in Voyager's Message in a Bottle. It was one of the 3 ships. It was actually sent to try to stop the Prometheus when the Romulans had hijacked it. But the Wounded, Bob Gunton, you'll recognize him if you go back and watch the episode. He was in Shawshank Redemption. He was Warden Norton, and he was also the police chief, I believe, in Demolition Man, the Sylvester Stallone movie. So smaller than a Galaxy class, Nebula shared a similar design ethic to the ship. You can tell that the engineering section is very similar to that of Galaxy class. The nacelles are very similar to that of a Galaxy class, and the saucer is very similar to that of a Galaxy class. It's almost a kit bash where they just took out the neck from the Galaxy and kind of just take the nacelles and just whoop, flipped them over. And there's a better look at it from below on the Nebula class. I'm going to flip through this. You can go ahead and pause the video at any time you like if you wanted to actually try to read what's on these magazines themselves. There's the Phoenix. That's honestly the ship I thought we were going to be seeing for that. There's a picture from a screen grab from the episode of Cole Meany and Bob Gunton in Captain Maxwell's Ready Room. So you have this little dish on top here, and that was kind of one of the things, if I recall correctly, the producers and designers wanted to have for the Nebula class, is to have these little mission pods that could be swapped out if needed to get things done. The Sutherland that showed up in Redemption Part 2, that was a big showing of a Nebula class ship. And here's one of the ships. This is actually the Farragut, according to the caption here, that responded at the end of generations. The Bonchune right here getting its ass handed to it by the Prometheus class. Then the rest of this magazine is just talking about the episode The Wounded. This is also the first introduction of the Cardassians in this episode, and unsurprisingly, Marco Amo playing Gul Dukat, the only Cardassian that had facial hair. Just throwing that out there with that one. Eaglemoss, as far as I know, did not put out a Cardassian vessel as a XL, but it would be kind of cool to get, and not bad looking. Oh no. Oh yes. It's right here. All right, 1516 AA. It's one of the few AAs I've actually received. I pulled off the lid, and that came with it. Gave myself a little bit of a heart attack for a moment. All right, let's go ahead and find a nice way to pop this guy out of there. You can see this little mission pod on it. USS Bonchune, NCC 70915. And with all these ships, they're built pretty sturdy. I always worry about breaking these things, and I'm very worried that, you know, if my daughters, my wife and I are expecting, if they get into my office and they start playing with these are so rare nowadays, they're hard to get, that I'm afraid that they're going to break one. So I got to make sure these are pretty high up. One thing I noticed as I was picking it up, metal on the saucer section itself. Be really careful turning it around here. But underneath, relatively flimsy. I'm just tapping that with my thumb, and you can see it kind of moving a little bit. The engineering section feels like it's plastic. I'm trying to do this very efficiently with one hand, which is not my dominant hand. I'm filming with my dominant hand. But the nacelles are a little bit floppy. That's okay. It looks pretty nice, I'm not going to lie. Let's go ahead and get this one set up in the Fleet Museum with the rest of the ships. And here we got the Bonchune in the Fleet Museum. This is a temporary spot with how many ships that I have right now, going from the Equinox and the Titan all the way down to DS9 and my Lego A-Wing. Yeah, I have a Lego A-Wing. I'm definitely going to reorder this. I do have a little bit of space toward the end, just past the Titan and the Equinox. I'm going to clear that space off on my shelf and then probably look at getting a new shelf. Also want to reorder these guys just to kind of put ships that I'm really more fond of, kind of like the Akira, the Titan, move them up into the front. Also some ships that are like, I have them because I want them part of the collection. I may move to the back. But the Bonchune itself, so it looks a little bit better now that it's on its little bracking point. I will point out though, the brace for this thing is kind of flimsy. That it doesn't seem as secure as like the NX refit or as the Oberth. This one just seems really like it could fall at any second, and that worries the hell out of me. So I may do something once I get in its permanent spot. Maybe just get some like Legos or something, or some Mega Blocks for my daughter, and just stack it up just to brace the thing, because I really don't want these things to fall. They're expensive and they're really hard to come by if for some reason I have to replace it. But yeah, I do have another ship that has the Galaxy saucer section, the other one of course being my All Good Things Enterprise D. And I do love the little sensor pod on the top. I do think it's a neat little thing that the designers did for the ships back in the day. But for now, like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and all the videos that come out on this channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.